Use the hoodie eventually. Let's get set up here. All right, good morning, folks. Let's see, let me get Windows organized into a little bit more organized chaos instead of just chaos, and then all right, so I do. Oops, that was probably scrolled out weird, all weird, wasn't it? All right, there we go. Oh, it's too wide, isn't it? I could make a script, something to like set this to the right size. I guess the answer is probably yes, but will I dedicate the time to it or just resize it every time? Alrighty. Good morning. Oops, that's too big. Good morning to anybody that might be new. Welcome, first of all. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. I typically work on CircuitPython stuff on this stream here Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you are new and don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn some more about it at circuitpython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers, and it allows you to plug that microcontroller into your computer, typically with a USB cable, and then edit a file on that thumb drive it will show up as. And then when you save your file, it will actually read that file and execute the Python code that's inside of it, inside of the microcontroller. So it's able to interface with all sorts of other hardware bits and pieces by connecting to its I/O pins. Different microcontrollers come in different shapes and sizes with different capabilities built in and all kinds of different stuff. So there's a wide array of these devices, but all of the, how many are we up to? 474 of them on this page are the ones that all support that CircuitPython way of programming, essentially, which is usually what I will work on during the stream. Today's stream will be in project land. Sort of, I guess it's sort of, the project involves a library, I guess, but it's, I think of it more as a project at this point. Let's get the camera loaded up here and I'll show you. Zoom it down some. All right, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit not super well organized physically speaking at this point. We got a lot of wires running a lot of different places, but that's how any good project starts, I think. So we have Feather, what do they call that one? The Feather USB host? I don't know the actual full name of it, but it's an RP2040 Feather with a USB port, a standard, I think, is it USB-A, the like regular rectangle USB port that most USB things plug into. It's got a regular one of those for you to plug in a different peripheral device, like a keyboard or a MIDI device or a mouse or anything that could plug into it as long as there's code to make it do something. In the case of this project, that Feather is plugged into the back of a Feather wing TFT, which you can kind of maybe make out down here, although it's upside down. 3.5 inch 480 by 320 Feather wing. This is the newer one, V2. There was an older version of the hardware, and then the great chip shortage happened, and that one unfortunately left us, and so now there's a V2, which is this one. The Feather is plugged into that. It's got a nice big touchscreen on the, other side, I guess, let's say. I was going to call it the back, but it's really the front, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But on the other side, it's got a nice big screen with a resistive touch overlay. I think it's resistive. I don't actually know if that's true. Maybe it's capacitive. I'm not sure. It's got a micro SD card slot. And then, of course, because we have that Feather with the USB port, we can plug in a thing here, which the thing that I have plugged in is this tiny keyboard, which is also available from Adafruit. And it's just a standard kind of USB keyboard, but it's very cute and tiny. And what we are doing is feeding the keys into the Feather and then trying to use the Feather as like a all-in-one sort of self-contained file editor. Text editor. So I will carefully unspaghetti a few of the wires, just enough to plug it in. And then we will try to get this in a way where it's like visible. Which is perhaps going to be easier said than done, but we'll do what we can. So first screen you get is a file editor, not a file editor, but a file chooser, excuse me. So you've got this list of files which you can go up and down using the keyboard. And I think this keyboard, it does not work. The keyboard that's plugged in, actually, I noticed that it doesn't work until you unplug and replug it, although I have an idea in mind for how to solve that. But one thing I can do to show you without doing that just yet is the same interface that we see on the screen here. It's actually just getting output through the like standard serial output. So it's also coming through to the terminal where I have connected TO to that device, and I can also control it through here as well. So I can arrow up and down. Although because I resized it afterwards, it's looking a little weird here. It's looking correct over there. I definitely don't want to open settings toml. But we could open bootout.txt by arrowing down to it. It's now pointing at that. I can press enter. That's going to open up the bootout.txt file. And then inside of here, I can move around and write more stuff into here, but right now you can kind of probably only barely make it out down there. It does say read only because right now we can't actually save because the drive's not writable. We can Control C to get back to the file chooser, and we could do it all again. And right now on the file chooser, the cursor character is just kind of hanging out, which is a bit weird, so eventually we'll fix that. But today is a day to just work on this, make it better, because right now it's kind of like very early stage proof of concept, and a bunch of things need to be fixed and improved. First of which, I guess, may as well be the fact that the cursor is visible on the file chooser, which we don't want because the file chooser has an arrow, and we don't need the cursor as in the white block that has a reverse character in it. Is it going to be any better without the light? Yeah, I think that's probably better, right, for now. One thing we want to do today for sure is the writability. So like the fact that I can't save files right now is because the device is not mounted as writable. I want to take care of that. Hopefully in a way that's reversible easily as well, because once you mount it as writable, then you can no longer edit it from the computer. So we want to have a mechanism that lets us go back and forth easily. But yeah, we'll start one thing at a time. I think I'm probably going to lose the hoodie. I do have what is probably, I guess, warm-ish. It's still pretty hot, actually. I do have a hot coffee. I'm going to lose the hoodie real fast, and I'll be right back. Okay. So visible cursor, we could just make it somewhat ironically not visible by default. We could just make that true, and then we could say that it only becomes visible when we need it to, which would be right now. The best time for it to become visible would be actually when we first open the editor, I think, but it won't be in the right spot, so we'll need to move it to the right spot also. And actually what we should do is maybe not make it hidden there, but instead make it hidden here, because whenever we get done with the editor and we go back to the file picker, we want it to be hidden again. Yeah, that's how we want it. It'll be in the wrong spot until we move it, but let's see how that works. I do have auto reload turned off. So I'll restart like that. I will go ahead and unplug, replug the keyboard, although I have an idea to test. Yeah, I'm not going to do that actually just yet. We're going to leave the keyboard for right now, so I can't use the host keyboard right now that's plugged into it. I'm just going to use this. Okay, yeah, our cursor was not visible to start with. I'm surprised it's not visible right now, actually, though. So I think something has gone wrong. We didn't make it visible. I guess we need to do that before. Needs to do that before edit, or I guess, yeah, I guess edit doesn't return until it's done, I suppose. I should make some more files before settings.toml, so it's not anywhere near the one I'm using. Cursor is still not visible. Okay, how about we don't do this here? We do put it there. That's interesting. I would think it would be showing at that point, right? Okay. One thing I was using in order to make this easier to troubleshoot was actually connecting a second TO to the data line. So inside of BootPy, you can have USB CDC enable, data equals true, and console equals true. Console, this is the default one that has the REPL and like serial console. This one is just like an extra one that you can enable if you want. It's disabled by default, so you need to enable it if you want to use it. But if you do, then you can have TO on a second port, basically. As long as you tell it where to find it correctly. And then you can send data out this line in order to be able to see it here, which is very convenient because printing would mess up this whole stuff that's going on in here. So I want to, effectively print, but I want to print it over to here. And the way we do that is, got the exact code, but it's inside edit. Like overrid print like this, which is maybe not the best practice in the world, but so my hypothesis is this runs after we select the file, and then like this renders the editor. Therefore, the visible cursor should be made hidden false, which is visible true. Okay, so I was wrong there because that didn't happen. Let's make sure the print function works, though. From in here. Okay, that does work. Oh, okay. That does say making cursor visible. Oh, okay, and the cursor is visible now. Maybe did I just not refresh it or something? I don't know. So it is in the wrong place to start with. We need to move it to the right place. We can do that. I mean, the right place should just be 0, 0, right? I think so. Maybe we should make a internal function, def update cursor. Self? There's self? No, none of this is using self. Right, this is like editor is a function. Should it be an inner function? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Ooh. Okay, maybe we need to pass the... We would have to pass all those things. Means like some of that we're not going to be able to do here anyway. For cursor, window, buffer. Let's have a set line as an internal function, so maybe that's a good place for... How does buffer get filled? Oh. Okay. So, like here, we should be able to set the visible cursor to basically top left. And also update its letter to be the proper letter. You could theoretically factor this out as well. Cursor, and then we would just say 0, 0. Which I guess might be what they're set to anyway, but... This is red now. F. Oh, right, we can't have this. Maybe I didn't go all the way to REPL before. Maybe that caused it not to actually rerun all the way. There we go. Nice. Okay, so now the cursor is in the top left and it's showing the first letter, which is a little tough to see with the current zoom and everything, but... All right. That's all good now. So if we go back, does it hide? No. That's because I took it back out of here. Would it be there? Okay, how about when you keyboard interrupt this, then that becomes hidden again. There we go. Nice. And will it work if I go into a new one? Yeah. Cool. Okay. The keyboard. So the keyboard that's plugged in, I noticed, doesn't work unless you unplug and replug it. So like, I'll try pressing keys right now. I'm pressing the arrow down key and it's not working. Camera shot's too tight for you to see, but you have to take my word. I'm pressing the arrow down key, nothing's happening. In order to make it work, I can just use the serial console here for right now. If I unplug and replug the keyboard USB right here, then it will start working. And it will keep working until the microcontroller gets unplugged and replugged from the computer or the power source or whatever. So I think we want to programmatically unplug and replug it, which happens to be actually maybe possible because there is a pin called USB host 5-volt power. It seems to me like if I pull that low and then set it back to high, it should like unplug, replug in some senses. Do I know my digital I/O by heart? Not really, but maybe I can fumble through it. From we need pull? I don't think we need pull, right? Because it's not a input. We just need direction. For output, we need in, out, and then we set value to true. USB host power. Not imported board. Direction. Output. Value. If we just set it to false, and then I don't know how long we would need. And if we just, what if we do no sleeps? What if we just put it back to true like here? Is that long enough? Would not. Maybe though. It's got to initialize the screen. Probably taking a second. I didn't save. Shoot. Okay. Back. Powers in use. Okay. I think we just leave that alone for now. And I will try to make a reproducer and make an issue for it. I have another issue to make with USB host as well. So for now, I'll just unplug, replug it. Carefully. I wonder if I could do that in BootPy. All right, we saved, no, we changed that, so save it, and then relaunch, and then, so like this time I believe the keyboard will work. The tiny keyboard. Oops. Uh-oh, we hard faulted. It's honestly, it's probably mad that I tried to use that pin various ways. I don't know. I did find a hard fault that I thought I resolved with this. I guess this may be another thing to make an issue for potentially. Okay, so now we have, so can I use the keyboard? Yeah, okay, so see now I'm not using the serial thing here, like my computer's focus is up here, but I'm able to keyboard key on that tiny keyboard that's plugged in. Go to boot out, press enter, arrow key, type, Control C. The whole process works, and it'll keep working until if we unplug, replug the whole microcontroller. I wonder if we could toggle this. I wonder if it's early enough inside BootPy to toggle this, or if that's still... it will still be in use at that time, I wonder. Okay, let's try to work on the writability, because it'd be nice to be able to actually edit files. Also, I'm going to make some more files so that settings.toml is not the closest thing to the top here. It's kind of a weird thing to do, but... it's going to be W. Oh, I didn't do these F strings. I wish I would do that. Sometimes it does this automatically. I don't know how. Oops. Come on. There it is. W. No, we don't need W there. So write that. Yep, now close it. F.close. So that will just like make 5 files with A in the name. Which is kind of a weird thing to do, but... good. How's it going, Paulus K? Michael Pacusa, how's it going? Just joined. Are you making something like Nano and CircuitPython? I'm working on something like Nano and CircuitPython, yes. I didn't make this part of it. Jepler, yeah, I should have probably started actually with a little bit of a step back. Let me do that real fast. GitHub, Jepler. Maybe, I don't know if we'll get there with this. No. Okay. Is he Jepler on there? Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. And then I think it will be, we can just go repos. It's editor. Oh. Oh, I spelled editor wrong. Okay. Again. This is not going to go again? Oh, no, it did, but it's still not there. Editor. Okay, it's just called editor. There we go. The library, the folder is called editor. So Jeff made this, and Jeff himself mentions in the README here, standing on the shoulders of giants and such, because it's an original project by this one, and it was a tutorial in the podcast. So Jeff did all the work on this editor originally. The things that I've added to it so far are the cursor that's visible when we're inside the file editor. And then I hooked it up to use the USB host, although it turns out that was not, like, I didn't really have to do anything. That just worked. Once you unplug and replug it, which I made that discovery. But let's run this. This is going to make some fake files. My CircuitPy drive, which should be above settings, I think, although I don't know what order those are in, actually. Yeah. Let's see if we can figure out the order. Gets put on the top automatically by this code. which makes sense for normal usage, but I don't want to accidentally click my settings toggle. So I think what I'm going to do is change it to say always at the bottom. Trying to port the CircuitPy Seesaw module to MicroPython to use with Adafruit Gamepad Qt. The label on the chip starts with AT816, but the CPY chip ID equals hex 87, which would be the AT817. However, when you change the chip ID to 86, the test in CircuitPython still works. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know really basically anything about the seesaws and the chip IDs and any of that kind of stuff. I have used that QtPy gamepad, if it's the thing I'm thinking of. I've used it, but never like tried adding support to anything that didn't have it already or anything else really. I just used it to get the buttons, and I think we built a small game with it one day. All right, this is good. So now we have these non-important files at the top so that it's like I can just hit the top 1 or 2 or whatever, and we'll be able to not be randomly opening settings.toml, which is good. All right. Writability. So for writability, we need to make the drive editable, writable. And in order to do that, the place where I always look is CircuitPython Essentials Guide. Under Storage. It has a warning, which you should make sure you understand. And it has the code which you can put in BootPy to change the writability-ness of the CircuitPy drive. And what we are going to do is make it, hopefully, so that a button is in control of it. Write mode button. That button is on. I think I am going to turn the light back on. We will try to jaunt the angle a little bit more still. Oof, that is bad, huh? The other thing I have plugged in, which I don't think I mentioned before, are these 2 wires, which are connected to this button, which is a scalable vector graphic as far as I understand it. And we want to try to make it so that when you are booting the device up, if you hold that button down, then we want it to be into like normal CircuitPython mode where it is writable to the computer that it is plugged into. But if you do not hold that button down, we want it to be writable to the Python code. We will be using direction input and pull up because I have ground and the vector pin is, I think, value. Did I put that code in the wrong file? Didn't I just make a write mode button? Oh, it's down here. Okay. I think I'm losing it. All right, write mode button. This is on what pin? I don't know. D6, I think, but let's see. A little hard to see there, isn't it? Let's see. It is, yeah, it looks like. Oh, shoot. It's actually Is it 9? I think it's 9, right? Because it's 5, 6, and then 9. I think it's 9. Okay, so input, pull up, and then we will say storage mode gets to be based on that. Which basically boils down to set the remount and use write mode button dot value. And so if the button is not pressed, then this pin should be high, which means this will be true, which means read-only will be true, which means the PC, the thing it's plugged into, will be allowed to write, which is like quote-unquote normal mode. If you press the button, it should connect that value pin to ground, which means this will be false, which means read-only will be false, which means when you mount, it will be writable to the Python code. I'm going to save that, and then I don't remember if you need to unplug, replug, or if you can just reset button. It does still say read-only. Now, I was not pressing the button. Cannot say as though I am certain the reset button should work. Okay. Cannot say as though I'm certain that I have done all of this code right, though. So we should maybe need to validate a few things before we get too far along here. Let's first make sure that it is actually writable to my computer. All right, yeah, totally looks writable to the computer. So first thing to check is maybe we have the true false backwards. So I'm going to try pressing the reset button and holding my extra button at the same time. Thank you, by the way, Retired Wizard. I appreciate the heads up on that. I never remember, like, how that goes. So basically, I kind of have, like, created a secondary boot button in a way. I'm going to hold that down, and then I'm going to press the reset. Is it angled away better or angled towards? I don't know. Neither of them are great. I got to figure out my lighting camera situation at some point. I need a, like, an indirect light. Int boot out text files? I don't know what this is all about. That's kind of weird. Let's see if we select the file. Ah, yeah. Says now it says Control X, write and exit. So we should be able to modify this. Ah, okay. I went past the end of the edge, and it turns out there's an index error, as you can see from the screen. So let's modify it without going past the edge. Always try to get too far ahead of myself when I'm testing stuff. Oh, we are in safe mode. Okay, I think we go to safe mode if we have a crash, because we need to run this code right here. Otherwise, you will go to safe mode. So the thing that I'm doing, I don't know if it's meant to be supported or not, but the thing that I'm doing is I'm taking display.io.circuitpython terminal, which is a built-in thing, which is what shows this stuff on the screen. And like ordinarily that would just be on the screen by itself, but I'm trying to get my visible cursor on top of it So what I've done is I've taken that and not put it on the screen by itself, but instead put it into my own group and then put my thing on top of it and then showed that on the display. But what happens is when the code crashes, CircuitPython tries to like go to the REPL or whatever, right? It goes to like printing the error. And when that happens, it tries to show that terminal again, but it's already in use because I put it inside my group. This code right here removes it from that group in the happy path when you Control C. But the truth is we actually need like a non-happy path because what's happening is it's crashing and it's not doing that. Everything. All right, and then we need to reset to get out of hard fault mode. And we can make an issue, hopefully, to make that not go to hard fault mode, because it would be probably better if it would just give you an error of some sort, which I think it did one time. So there's probably like some other unique series of events that makes it into a hard fault sometimes. All right, so let's edit the file. See if we can actually do this. Oh, it's back to read only. I didn't hold the button. Why is that backwards? Okay, let's flip that, I guess. That's cool that it works, though, because I was able to hold the button and then it worked. So let's verify, actually. Instead of flipping it, let's verify and make sure that the button's actually doing that. We didn't just get a fluke. So I'm going to hold the red button, which is the extra one. I'm going to reset again. That back. I'm going to go into here. Does say write and exit now. So we'll keep it nice and easy at the beginning. Test. What was Alexander Graham Bell? I don't remember. What did he say? What was the first thing? It's like supposed to be famous, right? Test. So then Control X. I don't think anything happened. One thing we should also do is dump our exceptions to here, maybe? This is Control X, right? Yeah, it seems like Control X. Okay, let's just try it again. Control X. Control X. Yeah, doesn't seem to do anything. Control C first. Let's just do Control C and let's see. Maybe it saved it without it exiting? No, because it's not there. Control X. Yeah, just nothing happens. Okay, so let's go trace the Control X code. One more thing, actually, let's do is let's make sure that we cannot create a file from the computer. Nice. Okay, so we are definitely in like writable mode, right? Like it should be allowed. We could verify that even further in the REPL, maybe. So one thing that's cool, because of the way the keyboards work, you can actually use the keyboard that's plugged in the REPL, which just blows my mind, honestly. Like here I'm typing on that small keyboard, not on my PC. It's kind of small and it's not a Kinesis and it's like off to the side, so I don't type very fast, but it's really cool that it's able to actually pick that up. I had no idea that worked. Something like, come quick, I need your help. Had to spill acid or something? Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Okay, for the bell, right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess maybe we don't want to do that. Spilled acid. Luckily, I don't use too much acid. Mine would be there's been a terrible computer incident. Accidentally set the microcontrollers to blink all the lights at once. All right. We can, yeah, I don't want to type it all the way on there. So I'm going to go just super easy. F equals open test file.txt for writability. F dot write yo. F dot close. And I'm actually just going to control D it back to the editor, the picker, so we should be able to see test file in our list if that worked. Yeah, which it's right there. And it does have yo inside of it. So we could add another yo to make yo-yo, and then we could control X, but it won't do anything. But we could control C to exit. Okay, cool. So let's switch it back to, I'm going to switch it back to editable from the PC, but I am going to also switch my boot pi, whoops, to say not, which I really like to be in parentheses, even though it's probably going to cry about the fact that I used parentheses. It just feels wrong. Revert the changes. I can't save it because it's not writable. So that was kind of silly. So we need to reset without holding the button right now. Maybe I should leave it this way. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it this way. I think when the project is like ready to be a project and not be a development effort, then it's probably worth switching this so that default is edit the files with the file editor. During development, though, default being edit the files from the computer is actually kind of handy. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave that, which I'll save, but it didn't actually end up changing because I changed it back. Let's go look in our Control X, though. So I'm guessing this should be an editor. Oops. Okay, I got it. Nice. Backspace. Control X. Let's see if this like happens. And remember, print is overridden inside this file with print that goes to the data line instead. All right, that does say not read-only, so we do have to be in writable mode. So I will do the old button press again. Hold that, reset this. Blue, flip this. One thing that would be nice is if it showed you writable mode or not on this screen, maybe. Okay, so it is like that. Control X. Well, isn't that fascinating? So it does not print that Control X got pressed, but it does print updating visible cursor, so some part of our code's running. What is this? Is that ASCII or like... ASCII codes chart? What is 18? How does that equal X? Control X. What is this? This is the weirdest ASCII chart I've ever seen. Can I just see the chart? Cancel? Control X. So we are printing... That's working. So read-only is correct. So one thing I notice is this says read-only is a function, but this says read-only doesn't have parentheses. I wonder if that's supposed to. What is read-only? Where does it come from? Yeah, because that's going to be a function. And I don't know if a function is not or not in Python, but I do know that it doesn't really make sense. That's got to be it, right? Let's try it. Am I in writable? I'm in writable mode, so I can't save. I need to reset first. All right. I didn't switch to the camera, but I did reset without holding the extra button, which I will henceforth and forevermore start calling the write mode button, or perhaps just writable button. Write a boot button? Write a boot button? That one's kind of fun too, though. I don't know. All right, I should be able to save this now. Okay, and then we actually need to switch. Excuse me, we actually need to switch right on back to writable with the old write a boot button. So we're going to hold that. We're going to reset this. Flip it back over. I'm not exactly sure how long I need to be holding that one for. It's probably not nearly as long as I'm actually holding it, but oh, I've ruined the, is it time to lose the overlay already? Edit this, test, Control X. Still not, oh! Spoke too soon. Nice. Yeah, I think it worked. 1 second though, I gotta re-up the music here. Okay, so one thing is the cursor is still visible, which it should not, we don't want it to be, but like probably the code is broken. But so like that's overwriting the file name or whatever, but that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's like, you know, understandable. So if I go back into it, nice. Edited. Control X. Oh, heck yeah, that is super sweet. Oh, that is awesome. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we definitely needed read-only there to be not, to be called instead of to be like referenced as a past function. We don't need this anymore, I don't think. I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe it'd be nice to say saving, I guess. Saving. Maybe we should have like a, you know what would be maybe nice is like wrap all of our, I probably should not override print, truthfully, but what would be nice is if we could have code that says if the data line is active, then output all these messages to the data line, and if it's not active, then just don't output anything. Is this where we talk about undo history? Oh boy, yeah, I don't know. Undo would be tough, huh? Is the Control Z? Whoops, is Control Z a thing? Where's that ASCII chart? Control Z, it says substitute though. Interesting. So I mean, we could listen for Control Z. How hard would it be to have an actual undo stack? It would be hard. I mean, it probably wouldn't be that difficult, but I suspect the RAM is the problem. Like, it depends on how much you're storing. So it kind of depends on how efficiently you can store those operations. If you need to store an entire snapshot of the file, then if your file is decently large, then you might run out of RAM. But if you could store instead like a git diff type thing where it's like a minimal representation of changes to make, then maybe you could store a lot even in a large file. I don't know that I will tackle undo though. That might be Might be too much. Maybe the simplest version with a list if it works, but that would be pretty cool. Does Nano have undo? Nano's got not very much. Yeah, I hear you. Let's see. What should we hit next, though, actually? So I think... Okay, the cursor is hidden, or the cursor is visible after you exit, if you edited, right? So if you make changes and save, the cursor stays visible, but we don't want it to. So we could... hide it in code, Pi? I mean, I feel like if we hit it right here, it should work, but we had that earlier and it was, I thought, well, I changed it. Maybe I changed it even when it wasn't breaking anything. Okay, so it's in writable mode. I need to reset it. Wait for it to come back, then we can save. Then route this the other way. It's cramping my mouse hand here. Okay. Save this. After we save this, we can now reset it again. Back to writable mode. All right, maybe let's leave poor zero file alone. It's still visible. All right, I guess let's just do it in that Control X listener that we found. Oh. Tried to open it too soon. So, oh, this didn't save. Okay, well, I guess let's try it one more time. There we go. It is working. Okay. And then let's make sure it comes back when you go in. Yeah, nice. Okay. All right, let's fix this index error. So there's actually two index errors. One is when you go off the right edge, and one is when you go off the bottom edge. Oh. Oh, my exception. How do you print the stack trace? Is that a thing we can do now? You have to pass it this, or? I don't know if that's a thing in CircuitPython. Format, there's print exception and format exception. I can't save right now. Yeah, I don't actually need to be in writable mode to get to the index error. I don't think. Let me go down. Or maybe down is not a problem? Down does not seem to be a problem. I wonder if we're having a problem because of the overrided print? Yeah. String index out of range. I really want the full trace back. Good morning, DJ Devin. Had to run out to help someone with an emergency. Very interested in your stream. We'll watch it later if have to. Nice, yeah, for sure. It's always one of the nice things about the streams and the VODs and everything. You can always check it out whenever you got the time, for sure. I would really love the full trace back. Replace the outer one with an if true. If true. Not sure I follow how. Oops. That's definitely not how. Basically, just don't catch the exception. But then we will hard fault, which I guess we could just deal with the hard fault, but I was hoping to have a way of both seeing the exception and still running this code so that we don't hard fault. Okay. Does not seem like it hard faulted, so knock on wood. We'll see if maybe when I relaunch it or something, maybe it didn't. We have that problem this time. Okay, so we do have editor 306, wrapper, edit 313. .306. Set one visible cursor.text. Okay, so we should just Well, I think the first thing we should do is figure out what it does when the cursor is not in the mix. Because if there's no spaces, like, does it actually keep going over, or... Got layer already in group now. 32. So yeah, I think, well, it did not hard fault this time, but it is stuck with the terminal being in that group in the old instance of the code. But I did get this trace back, so I don't really need this anymore for now. I wonder if there's one of these you can use, though. It'd be really nice if you could see the full traceback instead of just the exception. But it's probably something to do with the way I overrode print, I'm guessing. All right, let's just do that, and then see. I think it will just, yeah. That's probably our hard fault right there. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let's just reset. Do we want to go to writable mode? No, I don't think we need to. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, so the visible one does not update. Okay, so you're allowed to go to the end, but then you're not allowed to go anymore, which makes sense. You'd have to put spaces if you wanted to be able to go more. So the cursor should move, but the text inside of it... I guess if we get an index error, we know we're at the end of the line, so I think we should make the text inside of it be a space. That way we still have a visible, like, rectangle for it. So we'll say try this, and then accept the index error, and then set it to space. And I think that gets us where we want to be. Guess I'm not positive, though. Nice. Oh, wow, that's very bright. Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, so we have an empty cursor. I cannot press right anymore, or I can, but nothing happens. If I type, we get an H in that spot, and we move over again, which is perfect. If I press spaces, we get spaces. There's a little speck of dust there after the H. We can now go back. We can now go this way. Nice. Cool. Okay, what is... and down doesn't do anything. Okay, let's try enter. So far, so good. Okay, right doesn't do anything. Just new line. Enter, enter, enter. Hello? Enter. I cannot save, though, because it's read-only. But, I mean, that seems to be fine, right? Everything's working pretty good. Nice, and that wraps around, yeah. That keeps going back. Okay. Down goes to there. Yeah. Nice. So if you press Control X, even though it's not in writable mode, okay, yeah, just nothing happens. Maybe it should give you an error? I don't know. Boy, we're pretty much functional here. What else is there that's like part of the core functionality? Not coming up with much, but I'll tell you what, I gotta run to the restroom, so I'll be right back, and then we'll see. Okay, I did think of one, which is I think the delete key doesn't work normally. The backspace does, but I think delete. So backspace. Ooh. I thought backspace worked. Does not actually appear to be working. Is updating this, I think? It's hard to tell. Yeah. Hmm. Thought I had tested backspace before. I guess not. Anyway, if you press delete, you get nothing, actually. Okay. Yeah, nothing happens on delete. Somehow we must have changed the behavior, because the last time when I pressed delete, it actually, it looks like it's supposed to be handling it. It inputted a bunch of stuff into the text that's wasn't supposed to be there, I thought. Oh, interesting. This one works, actually. Oh, delete. Yeah, that's what I'm after. Okay, so it put that stuff in when I pressed delete before. But why are these sometimes get key? Interesting. Why are these sometimes a string? Hmm. Okay, so from the keyboard, like nothing is happening. It's not really unknown, I guess. Let's just say unhandled K. Definitely awake now, can enjoy your stream. Nice. Started falling apart. Oops, let me catch up. Sister and brother-in-law tried to remove a marble countertop with sinks and cabinets in one piece. Oh lord. Started falling apart. They closer got to the front door. Helped them before I even had coffee. Oh jeez. Something you've been doing with the cursor is very interesting. Was hoping to watch you work on that. Yeah, nice. It turned out to be fairly easy, but what I will say is the way that it works right now is also fairly like simplistic and not applicable to very many other use cases. Like it's not a general solution for terminal IO. It's just this editor tracks the cursor and I used it to splash that on top. Let's see here. We want to rerun it. We don't need to be in writable mode, so we'll just reset. Yeah, I'm pleased at the button as well. I was hoping the button was going to work out that way. I will still eventually flop the state so that you press the button instead of not press the button, but I'm pleased that it works how I was imagining to even be in control of it. All right, so let's see. Unhandled K, but it didn't show anything. And the delete key is even weirder. We don't even get that. Like literally nothing happens with the delete key. Huh. But it would be like, is it trying to print like a visual representation of a backspace? Looking forward to Jepler's UVC. Yeah. Your camera won't need to be a show and CircuitPython device. Stream straight to OBS. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That would be interesting. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't think we got the new version. It should have printed twice if we got the new version. That's weird. Yeah. Well, it depends on the project, right? Because this is a physical project at the end of the day. So, like, while I appreciate the streaming audience being able to see it better, at the end of the day, the project, the Learn Guide, the actual thing is a physical thing. So, like, I can start it out with a virtual screen, but somewhere along the way, we need to switch to a real screen, and we kind of get what we get for the camera. Or I could just not do the camera at all. But ideally, what I'm hoping for one of these days is a... Ooh. can't convert string to int. Okay, so it doesn't like to pass that to hex. One of these days, what I would like is a some kind of indirect lighting setup. Send the light in from different angles so that the straight-on camera doesn't get bounced back. But I don't know how to do that, or if that's a thing that just exists that I can pay money for, or what. So it's a string, but what string is it? I really wish I could see, like, can I convert a string to something? Can I convert a string to its bytes, or like anything that's visible? Argument with encoding. This just makes a byte string. That's probably not going to be any different, right? Bytes, multiple bytes. Ord? Yeah, ord's a good call. That will give us an int. Should. This is not happy. Oh, okay. I wonder what's up with that text UIY out thing that's going on down here sometimes. This thing. In boot out text. Okay. It's 8. And bytes does actually do something useful as well, which is nice. So 8, what is that? Is that backspace? No, we looked at backspace before, didn't we? 0x is backspace, okay. Backspace. But why is that on, what is 7f? Delete. You're backwards. Oh no. But no, because that says 4, and 4 is end of X emit Control D. The backspace should be 8. But are we deleting when we're backspacing? Because when I do it from the computer, it works. So which one is which from the computer? Or thing to do with close-up light source? I was fighting against workshop lamp producing circular white spot. Large overhead light. Yeah, that's what I need, is more general lights in the room, I think. Okay, I want to try from the computer. Backspace is backspace. And delete is unhandled 27. Which looks like a quote mark to me. 1B? No, okay, so or that's decimal 27. Hex is 1B, my bad. Hex is 1B. Where's that? Escape. Huh. That's weird. I mean, I definitely pressed the delete key. The same key as this key right here. It's just deleted that E. Okay. All right. But we know that backspace is doing backspace, and we know that backspace on the host keyboard is 8. We should be able to change one of these, but why 7F? 7F is delete. Which one of these is it actually being, I wonder? Is it this key backspace, or is it this thing? I don't even know why there would be a string instead of a byte there. It's kind of weird. I'm not familiar at all with this scan thing. STD screen get key. Never really messed with STD out or in or anything like that directly like this. Okay, so I want to test on the PC keyboard, and it is 7F. So the PC keyboard backspace comes through as 7F, which is a thing called DEL. I assume it's short for delete, but it goes backwards, not forwards. That's weird. But we should also listen for 8, because 8 is backspace. And that's what's coming from the keyboard I've got. Does Python have ASC function? Char A ord 97. Yeah, I'm not sure about ASC function. I don't know what that one does, but the char, it does have char. I don't know about CircuitPython though, actually. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure it does, because I used it for Enigma machine code once. The stadium lights around the subject on the field. Oops. Yeah. Stadium lights are far away. Yeah, that's what I need, is like more lights in the room. Less lights directly on my subject. I don't know when these be like come through as strings. I don't know when that would happen, but I guess we're just gonna add an 8 here, I think, right? Is it 0, 8 or just 8? Well, I can try it, right? I don't have the code in yet, so we can just say backspace like that. 0, 8, okay. And then 0, 4 is just a different thing, it says. But the delete button on my small keyboard just doesn't do anything. We don't even get an unhandled at all. We just get nothing, nothing. So I don't think I'm going to be able to use the delete button, at least on this keyboard. Unless if there's some way to like make it actually have a key, because yeah, so far it does not seem to have a key. But this should make backspace work. CircuitPython has ordinal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has char too. But I don't know about ASC. I'm not sure what that one does. Sending? Probably not right. So we can go over. See if we can delete test, maybe. Or backspace, I mean. Nice, look at that. Sweet. Control X. Oh no, I can't save though because it's read only. I can exit. Cool. Okay, backspacing works now. Okay, it's from BASIC. You know, QBasic was the very first programming I ever did, but I don't remember very much of it. I wouldn't say that I remember any of it. I remember GoTo. And I remember line numbers being an optional thing you could add at the beginning of your lines if you wanted to. I think. Maybe you had to do a line number? Okay, yeah, as you can tell, I don't actually remember that much of it. It was fun, though. It hooked me into programming. I'll say that. It was an RGB matrix, it was 7 segments. Yeah, HDK, it's like 1566K or something like that. Yeah, I know which library you're talking about, but I don't know its exact name. Okay, backspace. What else is there that's like total deal breaker? I mean, escape might be kind of nice. I don't know. Do we want to hook up escape? I don't know if it matters too much. Mark, cut, and paste would be nice, but it would be hard. Gorillas.bass, yeah. I made a CircuitPython Gorillas game one day. I still want to go back and make that game multiplayer. I wish there was a Pygamer with Wi-Fi. I wish there was like a Pygamer where the main chip was an ESP32S2 maybe, or S3. Mark, cut, and paste. So it's basically, you set the mark, which puts the position into memory as like XY, I guess, and then you move around. So I definitely can't do the highlighting, right? Like Nano, I'm pretty sure it has highlighting. Maybe I'm misremembering. So it's so random though, right? It's like 6, Control-Shift-6 or something? No, it's like F6? No? Control-6. No. I don't know how to do it. Cut, Control-K, but you have to place the mark first. Set mark, MA. What the heck is MA? I'm pretty sure it's a 6, right? I'm like almost positive there's a 6 involved. Alt-A? That's different than the one I've used. Mark set. What? Okay, yeah, so this I will not be able to do very easily, and I don't think, I mean, basically what it boils down to is I don't think I would be able to do it for next week, which is when this project is aiming for. So this, I think, is out, being able to highlight visually all this stuff. To logically set the mark there and then let you move around and then Control K. So you'd have the first XY coordinate for the cursor, and you'd have the next XY coordinate for the cursor, and you would need to delete everything in the row after the first character set mark, all the rows in between, and then everything before the second one. Morning, Randall. How's it going, my friend? First language was some silly fake assembly language, and then Fortran, then IBM Basic on a Gen 1 IBM PC, 8088. Back in 82. Never did programming as a job. Hardware geek. Nice. I got into programming as a job fairly early, I would say, in my career. I was mid-20s. 2012 or 11. One of the two is the year that I started at essentially the same company that I still work for effectively. And then maybe another year or two before that, I did like freelance programming stuff on my own. Got paid for a couple of projects, but nothing major. And then if we wanted to support paste, you would also need to keep that, everything that we deleted, you would need to keep in a variable to be able to put back. You need to keep it as lines, not just as a string, unless your string contains new lines. But you need to get it back into the lines buffer, which is a list of strings rather than a single string. I don't know about the cut and the mark. I don't know that I'm going to be able to make it functional by next week, is basically what it boils down to. And because of the fact that I'm actually relatively confident that I wouldn't be able to do the visual, I do hesitate a little bit, because without the visual, it becomes like potentially frustrating if you're trying to use it. Put some kind of game server on a Raspberry Pi and then plug in up to 4 Pi gamers. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Plug them in with USB or something. It'd be so cool, though, if there was a Pi gamer with Wi-Fi, because then you could have that game server centrally, connect them like over Wi-Fi, and then like have multiplayer games that transmit data through the server, which is effectively what the Gorillas game. I made a Gorillas game, but it was on one device at first, but I did eventually update it to 2-player, but it's with like LoRa radios. But I think Wi-Fi is a lot more practical, truthfully. Touch-based gaming is kind of bad. I'm not a fan of mobile gaming or something like a Switch with D-pad and buttons. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a tactile person as well, with buttons and D-pads and stuff. Multiplayer would be nice. Not sure the Info was capable of it. It could be. There was Airlift at the time, and they're even like, I think it's lost to history at this point. I don't think it's like a thing that will ever happen, but there is a deep in the lore, there is a PyGamer Advance, which was I think it had an Airlift thing on it. So I think this got designed, but never actually manufactured. Airlift featherwing you could do. Yeah, that's the closest way to do it now. And that's probably the way to do it if you wanted to. The downside for me is I only have one Airlift featherwing, so I'd be trying to make a multiplayer game without the ability to actually try both sides. So I'd have to get another one to do it. Which, like, if there was, if there was a new Pi gamer with Wi-Fi directly, I'd have to get 2 of those as well. So, just joining. How's it going, C. Grover? Coffee cheers. Fair enough. Maybe useful to add line number. Ooh, line number would be pretty sweet. Yeah. I don't know if we know the line number though. It's so hard because it's like. One thing is I need to go through and try to understand this code. I should probably go through the tutorial that Jeff went through when he built this, honestly. So we read the file here, and we would start showing certain number of lines and columns. But then as you move down, row updates. So your line numbers will have to be based on row. I've not tested these things. I don't know if those work. Row line, enumerate. We have row actually, right? Is row the index in the file, or is row is the index in the buffer? File line numbers. Wait, this YouTube heart kind of covers file line numbers versus screen line numbers, right? Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know which one this will end up being, but yeah, that's the crux of it. Is I think it would be cool to show. Oops, I'm inside Nano. It would be cool to show line numbers, but I don't know how readily available the value of the correct line numbers is, because the files are read all at the beginning. Not sure that it keeps track. Oh, let me use the keyboard. I'm gonna go to boot out. Okay, that looks like it worked, but this file is not long enough to actually be able to scroll down. Let me close out of here. Let's go to writable mode so that I can make a bunch of lines in a file. Now let's just do it from the computer. We don't really want repeated exactly, though. It'd be nice to have a little bit of difference. I don't know how tall it is. It repeats some as long as it's a big enough pattern. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, I think Jeff is out as far as I know as well for a little bit. I'm not sure how long. Quick, hopefully related question. Does REPL still support extended ANSI v2 terminal codes? It supports some. I don't know which ones or what all they do. I don't really know that much about them, truthfully. But there are some that it supports. I want to say there was even a more recent PR that did add a couple of extras or something related to that. But I think it supports some because I think those codes are used in order to be able to like render all this stuff correctly. If I understand it, which is like, it's possible I don't, because I don't really understand it that much at all. I want to say, though, I thought I saw, yeah, there's some of this stuff recently was added, so I don't know if that's what you're asking about or not, but there was some of that insert. That's talking about delete. I wonder if that's what we need to make the delete key work. Might be merged though. So I mean, it is merged. Last week. I'm on beta 0, which is 127, which is also last week. So it really depends if that was in before the beta or not. I don't know. All right, let's check our scrolling here. Okay, so one thing is, though, that if we show line numbers, it's going to be part of the file, right? And now I can, like, well, I can type stuff over there. I guess it gets weird when you do, but... Oh, I can't go down anymore. Oh, okay, it's still going down on the screen, actually. Over here. Okay. Yeah, that needs to update those numbers. I don't know. I probably sound like a broken record because I'm not sure I can make it work in a way that's good for next week. It would need to keep track the offset of the first line that's visible versus 0, basically. What is last row? Last row? Is last row a number? If last row is a number, maybe we can check the length of lines and then the number of last row, and then subtraction should get us to the number of the first row. I want to have the old version of this as well, too, actually, before I get too far ahead of myself. I probably need to do the tutorial that Jeff followed when he made this. Because one thing is, I suspect the way that I'm kind of putting stuff into this is probably not the best way. Or the correct way. Like, it's probably potentially even already in there somewhere, this number. But I don't know the kind of primary structure of the code. Okay, so it says 22. Which is the index of the last visible one. If I do that again, it is reprinting all of them, and it always says 22. Does not go to 23, though. It's always saying S22. So something would have to keep track of that somehow. I don't know what does it today. Is it maybe this, when it moves? If you could just add one anytime you move down from the bottom, like anytime you scroll down, add one, and anytime you scroll up, subtract one. Then that should be the offset you need. I don't know if that's what this does for sure or not, though. So we'll have to play with it some more. Line numbers would be super cool, though. I would like to get line numbers. I don't know if we'll end up with it for the other reason, though, because we are I mean, the way this is structured right now, we're always using one terminal, right? We don't have, like, the line numbers are not separate, which means that the cursor is allowed to go into the 9 line numbers and the separator, which is a little bit wonky, kind of. I think not how people would expect line numbers to work. But in order to make it not do that, we would have to actually separate the line numbers out. Well, we'd either have to write extra logic in the movement to say, like, if you're on the bounds of the line numbers, then don't go over. Or we'd have to separate out the line numbers entirely into their own new, what I'll call a view, but just a thing on the screen, their own label or terminal or, you know, bitmap with stamped tiles in it or whatever. Forgot to say earlier, Arduino version of the client-side Seesaw code doesn't really do any different based on the AT version, AT Tiny version, but the CPI has minor pin tweaks, nothing else. Maybe SIMD09 from the question before. If I recall correctly, some Unix Linux editors were written to respond to OS's native ANSI v12 1000, v2 1000. Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Let's see, Scott implemented position, movement, color. Yeah, I do think there are some. I just don't know that much about them or how to use them or the limits or anything else, really. Scott might have implemented that. It sounds like Chepler would do. Scott was looking at. I think some of those things are used for the title, right? Those ANSI codes or V2 codes or whatever, VT codes. Yeah, that's the one I think we saw. Sorry, I'm also catching up on chats from a few minutes ago still. To delete, can't you implement? So right now my problem with delete is the delete key doesn't do anything, doesn't like do anything. My code right now doesn't like hear the delete key being pressed. So when I press the delete key, the current code just like, it's not like I don't recognize this key. It's just like nothing. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. No keys got pressed. Nothing to see here, folks. Is kind of how it's behaving right now. So I'll have to try that new version. It's possible that beta 0 came before that version from the PR, in which case maybe if I do that one, it just starts working. But I don't know. That would be, though, a precursor. If I can get the keyboard delete key to come through into the editor code I have, then I can probably handle having it do the deletion. But if I can't get that key to come through at all, then it's beyond me to figure out how to make it come through. Display.io on the go. Nice. Yeah. That was something we played with a while back. K-Match set that up to where you could do the terminal visible with Display.io, which would be interesting here. You know, one thing that might be cool eventually is like a run. So I've been editing text files, but maybe if you edit a Python file, you could have a like a launch button. I don't know how you would do that though. That's super cool though. I like that side and side there where you've got the REPL going and you can actually just edit your Display.io code right in the REPL. That's a super cool thing, I think. Adding the, justified with the zeros. Yeah, it's a tough call though, because then it's like, if we add the zeros, like, do we do 2 digits or do files that are bigger than 100 lines just get the shaft? I don't know. It's a tough question. This was even maybe before. I think this was even before the hack tablet. He made the way. I think it might have even been when CircuitPython terminal on Display.io started existing as an API. It was K-Match, and he made it, and he set it up to where you could do that dual screen, kind of like Display.io on part and then terminal on part. Makes me wish the touchscreen worked in the background. That would be super cool, yeah. if the system handled a touchscreen and just gave you events into your code, that'd be pretty sweet. All right, I think I'm going to head out now for the day. I will be back on Monday working on this. Then I'll probably pop on the stream at some point. So if you'd like to see more on this project, that is probably the next time to do that. Monday sometime. You can follow me over on Twitch if you want the notifications for that. Hope everybody has a good day, good rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all of the good ideas and thoughts and help that I got from the chat today. Appreciate all of that and questions and everything else. I will see you all next time. Oh, I totally did not realize that my giant microphone has just been chilling in frame here the whole time. Nice. Take it easy, everybody.